For any of the women that clicked on this video, have you ever sat down to watch a horror film expecting cheap scares and 30-year-olds still try and tell you were 16? And instead, you're given a woman being chased in her bloodied underwear while all her male friends that were picked off never had so much as their jackets removed. How did that make you feel? Personally, I can say I fucking despise it. Hi guys, I've changed my hair. I finally got white foundation. I did my nails. They match my hair. You can see that the back of my head is green. My hair was down, but I've had to go through 6 different ways to hold the microphone. This is apparently the best one. I have to keep a conscious effort not to put it too close to my mouth, otherwise it sounds like this. So yeah, I can't put it on anything, otherwise it'll rattle. So yeah, I've just got to hold it, because if I put it on my clothes, it doesn't pick up as well for some reason. And this is the clearest I can get audio. I need to get a new fucking microphone, but I'll have to do that at the end of the month. Yeah, my nails match my hair and my nails match my YouTube. Life's great. I need to shift, I'm not in the middle. There we go. Today we're looking at misogyny and horror, and then the specific subgenre of femcel horror. I'm going to talk about 6 specific femcel movies. Well, 5 are femcel movies, one of them other people call it a femcel movie, but I don't. I'm covering it because people call it a femcel movie. Obviously, I'm gonna warn you now, we've got spoilers for the film May, Repulsion, Excision, Carrie, The Loved Ones, and Audition. I'll put those on screen. If you haven't watched any of those films and want to watch them, don't watch this video, because I will be explaining the entire plot and you will get the entire thing spoiled. Yeah. We're going to be discussing misogyny and horror first, and then I'm going to go through those films and then explain why I like them, why I believe they're femcel films. I'll explain what a femcel is to you, where that term came from, and just generally what a femcel is. Yeah. I got the idea for this video because watching horror films as a woman, you do sit down, just expect it. You want to be scared, you want to have quick jump scares and shit like that, and you end up looking at it being like, a man made this. A man made this and he doesn't like women. Misogyny is everywhere for those with eyes to see it. Like, the horror genre is so fucking misogynistic. I'm obviously only going to be focusing on a few instances, because if I explained all of them, I'd die of old age before we were finished. So yeah. An announcement. I write my script like essays, but I don't read them one for one in these videos. So I'm uploading my scripts to Substack. I'll put that in the description. I've linked it in my channel description. But yeah, the script and the video won't be a one for one for each other, so you can read the script and watch the video and still enjoy it. Like, you could watch the video as you're reading the script. You know, obviously some things I say will be exactly the same, like the intro. Exactly the same, word for word, I read it off my phone. But, yeah. The first misogyny and horror I'm going to talk about is the final girl trope. Now, you might look me dead in my good seeing eyes and go, Nico, how's that misogynistic? The woman survives. Like, she survives the whole ordeal. How is that misogynistic? It's the first instance of final girl I'm going to talk about is where it's a woman who's being like stalked by a murderer, and as the horror film goes on, somehow she ends up losing everything but her knickers. I'm going to put that word on screen, by the way, because the majority of my viewers are from the US. She ends up losing everything but her underwear and like a white tank top that she's not wearing a bra underneath. She's covered in blood and she somehow still looks sexy. That kind of final girl is what I'm talking about at first. I can personally immediately see how that's misogynistic, but in case you're a man, I'll explain it to you. Obviously they're generally stripped of their clothes, while the men in the films aren't, generally. Like, they won't end up to the level of undress that the women do. Like, the men might be tortured in the same respect or the same way, but the men aren't undressed, the men aren't sexualised. the men's pain is framed as pain, it's framed as torture and suffering, while the women are put into the male gaze while they're suffering. Their suffering is framed as something sexy, something to be like enjoyed. You know what I mean? It's done very clearly to appeal to men. It gets them to watch it because it's like, oh, there's a woman like running around in underwear. Like, it's genuinely just done to get men to watch it because they get to, one, watch a woman run around in her underwear, two, watch a woman in pain, and yeah, not all men, but it's, I don't give a fuck. I'm a misandrist through and through. Men enjoy the pain of women. They get off on women suffering. That's why they like these films, because they get to watch a woman suffer. And instead of focusing on her suffering, on her pain, on the torture she's going through, they're focusing on the fact she's attractive and that she looks good. They're not focusing on the fact that she's being chased by a cannibal serial killer. They're focused, oh, look at her ass. Let's get a shot right on her ass. Let's not get a shot over her shoulder of the fucking cannibal chasing her. Her tits. Yep. That's what we want. That's the cinematography we're going for. If it were a man, they'd never fucking do that. They never zoom in on a man's ass. It's never him running around in his fucking boxers covered in blood, looking sexy and, like, looking attractive while he's being tortured. I'd watch that, honestly. Can we get some misogyny for men? Can we get some of these misogynist tropes done against men? Like, can I get a film where Matty Healy is running around in his underwear covered in blood being chased by a murderer, but he looks really fit while it's happening? Can someone make that for me, please? It's my birthday in 10 days. Like, you know, that's what I want for my birthday. Oh yeah, it is. I'm 19 in 10 days, so you all better wish me a fucking happy birthday. I will be checking. All 17 of my current subscribers tell me happy birthday. I can confidently say, as a woman, if I was being chased by a cannibal serial killer wearing someone else's face, I would not be worried about looking sexy. I would not be worried about the state of my foundation or whether my tits are sitting nicely. I'd be like, oh my fucking god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be raped and murdered. I'm gonna die here. Like, I'd be hiding behind a car, covered in my own and probably my mate's blood, being like, oh my god. I'm never getting out of here. That would be my concern, not whether I looked fit. Now, there are final girls that aren't misogynistic in this fashion. Examples being Nancy Thompson and Laurie Strode from Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween. They're both incredibly clever women who outwit their would-be killers and aren't placed in the male gaze in this way. They aren't made to look sexy or, like, you know, arousing. Laurie Strode is up there with Ripley from Alien, with women you'd want around if shit went south and someone was trying to kill you, because they'd sort it right out. You're good. But you might not see how this is misogynistic, but if you look closely, you can see that the other women around them do things like drinking, drugs, sex. They dress more provocatively, they act more provocatively, and they're the women that die. So it's basically saying, unless you're a virtuous, pure woman, you deserve to die, you're not going to live. Only the pure woman gets to survive. And it's basically saying, if you don't adhere to society's, like, perception of what a pure, virtuous woman is, you don't deserve to live, you don't deserve to survive a situation. You're being killed because you don't abstain from these slutty activities. So yeah, less overtly misogynistic, less male gazy, appealing to men, but more critical of women and their activities. I think women should be able to do whatever the fuck they want, personally, and they still deserve to live. Drink, do drugs, have sex with whoever you want, within reason. You still deserve to live, and I think you're a fucking baddie. The only final girl I can think of who isn't overtly misogynistic is Grace McCauley from Ready or Not. She drinks, she drinks, she smokes, she keeps her clothes on. She's blunt and rude and quite a jarring person. And she's very clever, but so are the other women in the film. They just happen to be cunts alongside that. She isn't sexualized, and she isn't made to look virtuous. She's the only one I can think of who isn't obviously misogynistic. Generally, this trope either seeks to sexualize women's suffering or condemn women who do slutty things by saying they aren't worthy to survive because they defy society's rules of a pure virtuous woman, which is fucking gross. Like, everyone immediately jumps to thinking the final girl is a feminist girl boss thing because the woman survives, the woman outwits the killer. But you've got to think about why. Why would a man make a film that's feminist and girl boss? Why would a fucking man do that? They're a man. There's a reason behind it. Like, they're either sexualizing them or condemning them. Like, there's misogyny somewhere. You've just got to have the eyes to see it. And I do, thank God. The only person who's more eyes open to misogyny than me is Taylor. You give Taylor a situation or a person or whatever, he'll find a reason why they're fucking misogynistic. He will find the women hatred. He will find it. It won't even take him long either. 2.5 seconds of looking at it, analysing that situation, he's found the misogyny. The second misogyny in horror I'm going to talk about is rape and revenge, which is a subsection of a bigger genre which are known as good for her movies. It's essentially where a bad thing happens to a woman and she goes and gets revenge on the people that hurt her. Now, as you can imagine, rape and revenge is specifically a woman is raped and she gets revenge on her assailant. Again, you're probably going to look at me and be like, Nico, how's that misogynistic? They hurt her and she's killing them. How is that misogynistic? Because in I Spit on Your Grave, the biggest rape and revenge movie, the rape footage totals 45 minutes. 45 fucking minutes of watching a woman being brutally sexually violated. Obviously, some people might say that's meant to disturb you, that's meant to give you a full scope on why she's killing these men, but it's not. The film was made by a man. It's so men can get off on watching a woman be sexually violated. That is a big point within rape and revenge movies. The rape is always explicit, graphic, prolonged. It's so men can get off on it. It's so men can mentally whack off to the sight of a woman being raped. It's also misogynistic because why is it always sexual torture towards women? In a film, when a man gets revenge, it's nearly always completely disconnected from his sexuality. It's never he gets raped and he's going to get revenge. It's usually something to do with money or his honour or something like that. It's never a sexual matter. With a woman, it's always she was molested in childhood, her boyfriend abused her, she was raped. She's never a fucking badass gangster going to murk some bitches because they stole money off her. It's always that she was sexually abused and exploited. I can say as a woman who has been raped and abused by a man, I'd love to get revenge on him. I would love to have his bollocks in a bag and drop him off North Pier. But these films aren't cathartic to me because they aren't made for women and they aren't made for victims. They're made for men. They're made by and for men. And I didn't put this in the script, but I've just had the thought. They're horrors to men because a lot of men are rapists. Whether they act on that or not, a lot of men have a rapist mindset. A lot of men don't care for the consent of women. So a woman taking revenge on a rapist is a horror to them. That is a genuine fucking horror to them. That would make their life horrifying. If every woman that was raped went and killed their rapist, there'd be a lot less fucking men in the world. And the idea of a woman getting revenge on her rapist is scary to them because they've probably done something to a woman without her consent. So yeah. They also put no realistic focus on the trauma that rape and abuse causes a woman. She's never like emotionally volatile about it. She's always very cold and calculating. No one is going to be like that after they've been raped. No one. Even if you're a fucking psychopath, you are going to be emotionally volatile and traumatized. It's very, you told a man what happened to you and he went on a tirade about how if someone did that to him, he'd brutally murder them. That's the tone of rape and revenge movies. Like, you know? Also, another thought that I didn't put in the script, it gives the message that women who don't go and find their rapist or their abuser and fucking brutally murder them are weak. It gives the message that this is what you should be doing. Was it really that bad if you aren't going out and fucking murdering him? That's the tone it gives. And that's fucking disgusting. They serve essentially as trauma porn for men to mentally whack off to. The woman's always attractive. She shows no realistic or emotionally volatile signs of trauma. They get to watch her being brutally raped for the majority of the film. They bank on the feminist girl power framing that they try and give these films so they can absorb, so you don't look too deep into the fact that the majority of the footage is her being raped. And men can get off on it while also absolving themselves of guilt because it's a feminist movie. Like, they don't have to feel bad about the fact that they just watched 45 minutes of a woman getting raped and they probably got hard about it because it's a feminist movie. It's girl boss. Like, how can I be a bad person if it's like a feminist movie? Like, I just mentally whacked off to a feminist film. I'm obviously a feminist. Shut the fuck up. Kill yourself. You can see the sexualization of these films just by looking at the poster for I Spit on Your Grave. It's Jennifer from the back. The focus of the shot is her ass. She's in her underwear and her shirt, and the back of her shirt's open. Why is that the poster for a rape and revenge film? Why is that the poster for a film about a woman being raped? Why isn't it the sawn off body parts of her rapist? Why isn't it their cut off cocks in a bag? Why is that the poster? I'll tell you why, because they're banking on men looking at the picture of her ass and going, yeah, I'll watch that. Yeah. There are good for her movies that aren't inherently misogynistic in this way. One that comes to mind is Bedeviled or Black Man Rises. She lives on this island. Her friend that moved away from the island, she gets in contact with her and comes back. And she's abused by literally everyone around her except her friend. And eventually her daughter dies and she loses her fucking shit. She kills everyone because she loves her daughter and she's putting up with these people. And her only reason for remaining sane has just died and no one gives a fuck. So she's like, fuck it, I'm not putting up with you cunts anymore. I'm just gonna kill you all, fuck you. That's a good for her movie. Technically, it's also rape and revenge because she's raped multiple times throughout the film. I can't, and I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't remember any. Obviously, there is acts of misogyny in the film because she's being abused by men. There are acts of misogyny, but I can't think of anything in the framing or whatever that makes the film itself misogynistic. The third misogyny in horror I want to talk about is the very specific trope of weird shit keeps happening that only the wife notices, or the husband notices, but he writes it off. And whenever she gets upset and brings it up, he tells her she's paranoid and overthinking it. Until it all kicks off. And he realises, oh shit, my wife was right, but he doesn't apologise, and it all gets sorted out. But he doesn't apologise for calling her a crazy bitch for weeks. That is a very specific trope. I don't think it has a name. There's an adjacent trope called the Cassandra phenomenon, where people see things into the future and no one believes them. But that isn't an exact one for one of this specific trope. Examples of this are Rosemary's Baby, Orphan, Midsummer, and every paranormal film ever. Anything with ghosts or demons, the wife's fucking crazy. It's always the woman noticing weird things happen. It's never. In my research, I saw there are very few films where the husband notices and the wife thinks he's crazy. But it's always seems to be the woman noticing weird shit, and the husband being like, "No, you're paranoid. You're overthinking it." Like, she always ends up getting really, really upset about the things that happen and the fact that no one believes her. She ends up these events and the fact that no one believes her ends up driving her a little bit mad. Like, at first she wasn't fucking crazy. You've driven her crazy because you've convinced her that she's crazy. Because no one's taking her fucking. Well, you're not taking her fucking seriously. It implies that women are emotional and paranoid individuals who shouldn't be trusted to make judgment calls about a situation's safety, even though we're the most qualified to make a judgment call about a situation's safety. We have to do it about every action we make in everyday life. It trivialises women's emotions and stress and makes us look like nagging cows for being concerned about things and bringing them up to people. It's clearly a trope invented by men who are too stupid to want to understand and notice the danger of a situation and get annoyed and feel emasculated when their wife tells them that something is unsafe and dangerous. Women aren't hysterical, crazy freaks any more than men are. We just tend to be more observant because we have to be observant in everyday life for our own fucking safety. Like, if we're not observant, we die. If we don't observe the situation and go, yeah, if I go down that specific street, or if I walk past that specific man, I'm gonna get raped. We have to live like that in everyday life, so obviously we're gonna be observant and find strange happenings in life and notice them quicker than you will. I talk as if every single person watching me is a man. I hope not. I hope the majority of my viewers are women. I don't know why a man would watch me. I don't know why a man would watch a video on misogyny and horror. These films genuinely piss me off because why are you looking at your wife in distress? She's upset, and you immediately jump to look at this crazy fucking bitch instead of, oh, my beautiful darling wife who I married because I love so much. How can I help you in these trying times? Are you okay? How may I assist you? My darling angel of a wife. You're supposed to love her, for fuck's sake. You married her for a reason. You marry people because you love them, but you clearly do not love your wife. Why are you calling your wife a crazy bitch? Why are you driving her into insanity by not believing her and gaslighting her that she's fucking mad? Like, what the fuck? Why are you jumping to hate your wife? Like, why aren't you concerned that she's upset? Even if the events aren't real, even if the events aren't as harmful as she believes, move gaff just to make her feel better. Do things to make her feel better. Affirm her feelings and affirm her safety. You're supposed to love her, for fuck's sake. You married her because you love her, apparently. And you're being a twat. The fourth misogyny and horror I'm going to talk about is gore porn. Now, in the research for this, I realised there are rape video sites. Because I made the mistake of thinking that these brands of films are actually called gore porn. Do not look up the words gore porn. You will find rape video sites. I didn't click on any of them. Obviously I'm English, the only reason they came up is because I've got a fucking Danish VPN on. I was horrified. I was like, obviously, in the back of my mind I knew they existed, but like, seeing them, some of these sites actually had the word fucking rape in the title of the website. They weren't even pretending. It just sickens me. Anyway, if any of you watch gore porn or you watch my disturbing movie iceberg video, you'll know, for the majority of cases, the victims in these films are women. Examples: Guinea Pig Devil's Experiment, Guinea Pig Flower, Flesh and Blood, Women's Flesh, My Red Guts, Tumbling Doll of Flesh for the most part. All the victims are women. The woman's always stripped of her clothes and violently tortured. A lot of the time she's moaning for some reason. I don't know why that's a thing. Do you want her to be in pain or not? Do you want her to enjoy it or not? Please make that more fucking clear. Sexualizing and fetishizing female suffering and because they frame it in a sexual manner of removing all of her clothes and having her usually making noises more in line with sex. In the specific case of Tumbling Doll of Flesh, it goes from a porn film that descends into BDSM and then into torture. Kiko's torture is framed as something enjoyable. It's filmed alongside semi-standard porn. It's framed as something to be gotten off to, something to cause arousal. Like, it's framed as something that will be watched in tandem with semi-standard porn. Obviously, I think all porn is quite torturous, but that's a different video. Women's Flesh, My Red Guts starts with... The woman in this film doesn't even get a fucking name, by the way. I'm gonna give her a name. I'm not gonna treat her like fucking Curly's wife. She's Japanese, so I'm gonna give her the name May.
With a toothbrush!
M-E-I. Okay? The film starts with May fucking herself with a toothbrush. Now, obviously, it's painful. She's bleeding. Obviously, because I think she fucks herself with the bristle end. But for the most part, she seems to be enjoying it. And this act of self-harm is also an act of self-pleasure. It's framed in a sexual light. It's framed as a sexual act that she gets off to. No one would the heavy majority of women don't actually gain that much pleasure from any form of penetration. 2, fucking yourself with a toothbrush would not be pleasurable, especially if it's the fucking bristle end. That would be painful. You would fucking bleed everywhere, as she does. In these films, a lot of the women's torture is explicitly sexual in nature. Rape, sexual assault, genital mutilation. Like, when a man's tortured, that's never done. Like, the only sexual-esque torture in media I can think of a man receiving is fucking James Bond getting his bollocks battered in Casino Royale. But in that instance, it isn't framed as a sexual thing. It isn't framed as something either of them are getting off to. It's framed as something painful and disgusting. Like, it's done for pain, not for anyone's pleasure. Obviously, the guy enjoys James Bond's pain, but not because of how he's inflicting the pain. He just enjoys that he's hurting him. Even though his genitals are being hurt, it isn't a sexual act. But if a woman's genitals are being hurt, it is somewhat a sexual act. It's a fucking double standard. Sometimes women in these films are raped, and not even in a traditional way. In Tumbling Doll of Flesh, Kiku has a fucking hole stabbed into her torso, and a man rapes it. They're creating new orifices on our bodies to rape us in. That's how desperate they are to inflict sexual torture upon us. They will make a new hole in your body just to fuck it. They won't stab you for the sake of stabbing you, they'll stab you to rape the wound. Torture for men and women in real life and in media is inherently different. If a man woke up tied to a chair with a masked man in front of him, his immediate... Obviously, men are raped and abused in a sexual manner too, and it's fucking disgusting what happens to them as well. Whether it happens to a man or a woman, it's equally disgusting. But if a man woke up tied to a chair with a masked man in front of him, his first thought wouldn't be, I'm about to be raped, I'm about to be sexually violated. It'd be, oh, how many fingers is he going to cut off? How many nails is he going to hammer into my limbs? While if a woman woke up tied to a chair with a masked man in front of her, rape and sexual violation wouldn't be a worry, it'd be a damn near certainty. She would sit there bracing for it, waiting for it to come. She can only wish that the worst thing to happen to her in that situation is having fingers cut off or having nails hammered into her. She can only wish that the worst things that happen to her in that situation is being physically harmed. Because if you are a woman and you are incapacitated and restrained in any way by a man, the thought enters your head of, I'm going to be raped. I'm going to be violated in a sexual manner, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, there have been times in my life personally where I've been incapacitated by a man, and my brain immediately goes to, I'm about to be raped, and there's nothing I can do. I can't fight him off, he's bigger than me. I can scratch him, I can fight him maybe, but I'm not going to get out of it. If any of the women watching that will probably relate to what I've just said and what I'm going to say. In any situation with a man, like if you have a boyfriend and you like play fight with him, a lot of you will come to the realization, if that man wanted to pin me down, there's nothing I could do about it. There is fuck all I could do. Like, you realise this man is stronger than me, even without trying. I'm putting all my effort in, he's not even trying. It's a very horrifying realisation you have as a woman, that you're walking around and half the population could do horrific things to you and there's nothing you could do about it. Because naturally they can just overpower you. So unless you put significant effort into being stronger than a man, there's nothing you can do. That's why we're all so observant and over-analytical and very, I don't want to say paranoid, but very wary as individuals, because we have to think, how do I avoid it? Versus, you have to think of avoiding it rather than getting out of it. You have to avoid the situation entirely rather than thinking of how you're going to get out of it, because you know you're not. You know once it happens, it's done. There's nothing you can do. So you've got to think, how do I avoid getting into that situation in the first place? I've gone on a rant and I don't know how I've got on here. But I think that was very important to say. I don't know how many men watch these videos, but I hope if you are a man and you just listen to anything that I just said, that it really put into perspective for you what it's like to be a woman. Like, that's only a fraction of the suffering women endure, but I hope it put it into perspective a little bit what it's like. Another problem I have with gore porn films is, and this extends to a lot of media generally, even outside of horror, is rape being used as a punishment against women. I can't think of a single instance where a man is raped as a punishment. But a lot of the time, a woman will make a man angry and he'll rape her because of that. This isn't a horror example, but the first example that comes to mind is in Orange and the New Black. A character called Tiffany Doggett is raped in the back of a van by a guard because she made him angry. I remember standing in my mum's room while she was watching the show and that scene came on, and I watched every second of it in complete fucking horror, with the realisation that if I make a man angry, he might rape me. If I make a man annoyed or upset or any kind of negative emotion, he might rape me. Not for his own pleasure, not to get himself off, but because I made him angry. It really put into perspective that rape isn't about pleasure. Rape isn't about self-gratification. It's about power and pain. It's about making you feel... It's about making you feel smaller and less than them and making themselves feel better and bigger than you. Like, why... If it was just about not being able to control themselves, or whatever the fucking bullshit excuses they use, why would it be the moment a woman makes them angry? Why would it be in response to negative emotions? It just fucks with my head a little bit that we can see all of this in media and not relate it to real life and not relate it to actual instances of female suffering. It also just annoys me that more people don't have problems with this. I have a problem with the gore porn genre as a whole because it sexualizes female suffering. It frames women being in pain and dying and being hurt as something arousing, which it isn't. It's right now, as I'm talking, there will be a woman being raped. There will be a woman being tortured. There will be a woman going through immense fucking suffering that I can never imagine. And there's nothing there is things that we can do, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. There's nothing I can do to help those women. But there are male filmmakers going out there and making films reflecting the trauma those women are going through right now and getting off on it. They're enjoying watching a woman pretend to be raped and tortured and abused in countless horrific ways. And I don't like any of the women that star in these films. I don't care how much you need the money. I don't give a fuck. You are perpetuating a misogynistic genre that sexualizes the suffering of women. The very fucking real suffering of women. It's just disgusting to me. The gore porn sexualization of female suffering is the specific instance of misogyny and horror that I hate the most. I fucking despise it. It sickens me. I know I've gone on a long rant about this and you might not see how all of it's related to like the films I was talking about, but I just get really annoyed thinking about these films and this genre. It just really, really fucking upsets me. Those are all the specific instances of misogyny and horror that I have for you. Obviously, there are more, like I said earlier. I cannot go through them all because we'd be here forever. The entire genre and the majority of the subgenres are misogynistic in some way. Obviously, you can still enjoy horror. Horror is my favourite genre, and I'm sat here recording this video. I sat here for hours and wrote this script. I sat here and watched films and research for this video. Horror is my favourite genre, but I can still point out its flaws. I can still point out the things wrong with it. So I'm not saying you can't enjoy horror, I'm just saying that to enjoy things, sometimes you do have to acknowledge its flaws, you have to acknowledge the things wrong with it. And that's okay, you can still enjoy it even after you become aware of its flaws. You just have to acknowledge them. Tell me about misogynies and horror that piss you off, that upset you, that sicken you. I want to know other women's opinions on misogyny and horror. I don't really give a fuck about your opinion if you're a man. Sorry, not sorry. It doesn't affect you, so I don't care. You'll never suffer misogyny, so you probably don't even notice misogyny, so why would I give a fuck? I know I'm being really mean about men in this video. 1, I couldn't give a fuck. 2, if it's a video about misogyny, I'm not gonna go singing men's praises when they're the ones doing this shit. Anyway, tell me about misogyny and horror that pisses you off. Now we're going to discuss the topic of femcels and femcel horror. Femcel came from the word incel. Incel was created by a woman called Oana on the internet in 1997. She created it. It means involuntary celibate. And she created it in a project which was meant to connect people who considered themselves lonely as a safe space for them to discuss their feelings and possibly make friends. In modern times, it's used to refer to men who are, as the name suggests, involuntarily celibate. They're lonely, their only contacts tend to be other men or specifically other incels. They tend to be frustrated and sexually pent up, which leads to feelings of anger, annoyance, and misogyny. They direct their frustration at the lack of sex they get towards women. They often hold the belief that women are vain and cruel because they won't fuck them because they're not a 6'3" stockbroker with a positive Cantal tilt. When in fact, women won't fuck them because they smell like Wotsits and Smeg and they're a violent misogynist. They tend to think that women are sex dolls who exist solely to give them pussy and make them dinner. They think feminism is the root of all evil because it gave women the right to choose, which shows their rapist mindset because the right to choose implies women should not have a right to choose who they have sex with, and they should be a free-use sex doll for the first man that pisses on her leg and announces that he's her property, that she's his property. Like, they're genuinely just misogynistic little assholes who think every woman on the planet owes them sex, and they don't think inward and go, what is it about me that's making women avoid me and not want to be in a relationship with me and not want to have sex with me? That doesn't enter their fucking heads because their heads are empty. Like, they are not burdened with critical thinking. They are not burdened with insightfulness. They are not burdened with self-reflection. They are free of those. They are dumb fucking bitches. Like, they genuinely think the only reason women won't fuck them is because they're ugly. No, women won't fuck you because you have the worst case of smeg anyone's ever fucking seen. You sit on 4chan all day, you live in your mum's basement, and you think women owe you sex just because. Just fucking because. You think that women are vain and cruel because they don't want to fuck you, and that they want to fuck a fucking, like, 6'3" Chad. You know, a woman might the heavy majority of women that I know, including myself, will ignore the fact that a man's a bit ugly if he's, like, funny, if he's kind, if he's compassionate and caring and a nice person. A lot of women will ignore the fact that a man is fuck ugly if he has a good personality. Men don't do that, though. If a woman's ugly, he won't go near her. He won't even extend her the dignity of being kind. Now, femcels aren't necessarily the direct equivalent to an incel. It does stand for female involuntary celibate, but there are key differences between a femcel and an incel. Femcelism doesn't tend to lead to an outward hatred of men for their lack of sex, their lack of relationships, their isolation. It tends to lead to body image issues and inverted self-hatred because they believe themselves to be the issue, unlike incels. They often blame themselves for being undesirable, which femcelism tends to focus on self-improvement, body image issues, and navigating the dynamics socially and in reference to gender of heterosexual dating, which is why women are better than men, in my opinion. Incels hate women because they won't fuck them. Femcels sit there and think, why don't I have these relationships? What can I improve about myself? You know? Like, the women think, what can I improve about myself to negate the isolation that I face right now? What is causing me to be isolated? Men go, like, they throw a fucking paddy because women won't fuck them and they wank off to lollies. Like, I fucking hate incels. I hate men generally, but I particularly fucking hate incels. They're not even human, in my opinion. Like, they are genuinely subhuman. I need them all to die. I need a fucking genocide on incels. Like, post this to 4chan, dox my address, do what you want, I don't give a fuck. You all smell like smeg. I don't give a shit. Like, no woman's ever gonna fuck you because you're a pathetic fucking misogynist. I don't give a shit, bro. Like, argue with your mom. Genuinely argue with your fucking mum over it, because I don't care. Femcel horror specifically is the genre of horror that focuses on isolated, strange, off-putting women. And sometimes it will focus on her longing for a relationship and her trying to navigate relationships with people. Sometimes the femcels in these films don't want relationships, they actively repel people. Sometimes she's a sympathetic main character, sometimes she's an antagonist and she's evil. It's very much dependent. I want chocolate. I shouldn't. My blood sugar's probably up, but I don't care. It's not a full square, so we're chill. I love cheating logic like that. It won't go up. Like, it's not that bad because it's not a full square of chocolate. Sometimes a femcel in a femcel movie, her lack of relationships and her isolation is framed as a result of her looks, but that's usually a sub point. Usually it is focused on the fact that she's isolated because she's weird. She's isolated because she's weird and she's strange and she creeps people out. They do things to try and improve it by, like, trying to make themselves prettier, trying to make themselves more normal, trying to understand how to interact with people. And that usually fails, and she goes fucking mental and kills all the people that hurt her, because a lot of times in these films, she doesn't do anything necessarily wrong. These people just end up being mean to her and ignoring her or fucking her off because they think she's weird. And that really upsets her and she kills them. Not always the case though. Sometimes the death results from different reasons. Sometimes she doesn't go looking for relationships. Sometimes she actively repels people and doesn't like people and doesn't want to have relationships with them and enjoys the fact that she's strange and isolated. They often have excessive confidence, but in a way that presents a disregard for social cues and a disregard for emotional and physical boundaries in relationships and conversation. They're often excessively blunt and don't know what's okay and what not to say, or what's okay and not okay, and what's okay and not okay to share with people. They're often aware of their own strangeness and the fact that it may or will put people off. They usually don't start out malicious or hating people. It's the events with people they know that drive them to it. It's usually a descent into madness rather than a descent into cruelty. In a lot of incel films, it's a descent into cruelty. They aren't mad. They don't lose their mind. They're just like, fuck it. I'm gonna kill people. Like, they would have been like that the whole time. In Femcel films, they go mad. They go fucking mental. Their actions are a result of the fact that you've driven them to madness. The first one we're going to talk about, and my favourite Femcel film, is May from 2002. It's a film about a girl called May. She grows up with a lazy eye, which is kind of corrected in adulthood with glasses and lenses. On one of her birthdays as a kid, her mum gives her a doll called Susie, who's in a glass box. Because growing up, her mum told her, if you can't find a friend, make one. And she holds up for her entire life that Susie's her best friend because she doesn't have any other friends. And she talks to Susie. At first, as far as I can remember, she doesn't act like Susie talks back to her. She just talks at Susie. May's weird. She's very strange. She's socially inept. She doesn't understand how to interact with people. She doesn't understand what's okay to say, to do, to share, whatever. She's weird. She acknowledges she's weird. She's fully aware of it. She doesn't seem bothered about the fact she's strange. She just seems bothered about the fact that she doesn't have any relationships with people. She's very isolated. She sees a man called Adam and she really likes his hands. So she tries to have a relationship with him. And at first, he's like, yeah, I love weird. I love grossness. Disgust me. He's a liar, pants on fire, and a fucking poser. Because she outfreaks him by copying something she saw in a film he fucking made. And he's like, ew, gross, I'm gonna leave, actually. And then she doesn't understand to leave him alone. So she seeks him out. There's a girl who works with her who's been interested in her. The girl's called Polly. And they have like a casual kind of sexual relationship. But May goes to Adam's house and finds him trying shit about her. She then goes to Polly's house and finds out that Polly's seeing other women. And even though Polly offers to make the other woman leave in favour of May, May's still upset and she goes home. She tries getting comfort off the cat that Polly gave to her and it ignores her. Oh, she started working with blind children at some point in a school. She saw them in the park and decided she wanted to work with them, so she started doing that. And one of the kids made her an ashtray with her name on it. She throws the ashtray at the cat and kills it. Throughout the film, May's becoming more blunt and weird. She becomes more confident in a off-putting way. She becomes more confident in the fact that she's fucking weird. And she just doesn't care. At a certain point, she uses the fact that she's weird to freak Adam out when he comes up and talks to her in the park. Throughout the film, she talks to Susie and she ends up acting like Susie's talking back to her. And as things go on, the glass on the case of Susie, the case that Susie's in, the glass starts cracking. And May gets increasingly annoyed with Susie when her advice doesn't work. She takes the doll to the school she's working at, and the children really want to play with the doll. But May's like, no, she's in there because she's delicate, you can't take her out. And they basically snatch the box off her, break the box, break Susie apart. Everyone gets hurt because there's glass everywhere and they're blind kids, they can't see it. And May loses her fucking marbles. She's like covered in blood, screaming, really upset that her best mate's just been fucking dismembered in front of her. So, a man speaks to her in public, like being quite friendly. She takes him home, and he finds the cat that she killed in the freezer. He freaks out, starts calling her name, so she stabs him to death. I think she stabs him. She kills him. On Halloween, she dresses up like her doll Susie. She goes to Polly's house, slits her throat, and takes her neck. The woman Polly had been seeing, Ambrosia, comes round. She stabs her in the temples and takes her legs. She goes to Adam's house and finds him with a girl. I can't remember her name. But she takes Adam's hands and the girl's ears. She goes home and makes a doll out of them. I believe she uses the guy she killed earlier. She uses his arms. She uses Adam's hand. She took her favourite parts of these people. She'd had an obsession with Adam's hands and Polly's neck. So she took her favourite parts and she made a doll out of them. She made good on her mother's words of, if you can't find a friend, make one. She names the doll Amy, an anagram of her own name, and she gets really upset when she realises Amy can't see her. So she gouges out her own lazy eye, which I found really beautiful because she'd used her favourite part of the other people, and that implies that her lazy eye is her favourite part of her. She doesn't care that other people will find it weird, it's her favourite part of herself. And she gives it to the doll, and she collapses on it, begging it to see her and know her, basically. And she's crying and getting really upset. And the doll comes to life, and it, like, caresses her face, and she smiles, and she's happy. And I fucking love this film. I love it so much. Because it, in my opinion, is the Femcel film. It's the fucking Femcel movie. She, like, May, I personally find her quite pretty, but she isn't conventionally attractive. She has her physical flaws, such as her lazy eye. She isn't just a model with greasy hair who still looks like she stepped off a fucking runway. Like, she actually looks strange. I personally find her beautiful, but she isn't conventionally fucking bombshell attractive. She's actually off-putting. She's weird and strange. She acts creepily. Some people in this film, in some instances, do have a genuine reason for thinking she's fucking weird. And that's okay sometimes. It shows how she really does want to make friends and have relationships, but her isolation has made that impossible for her because she just can't understand how to interact with people. She just doesn't get it. It shows a descent into madness from the isolation. She takes her favourite parts of these people and makes good on her mother's words of making a friend. And she gets a happy ending in a weird way. The doll comes to life and she's got a friend, and it's made of her favourite parts of a bunch of people. And it's beautiful. Like, she made a friend, finally. And I think that's really nice. Yeah, she killed people, but 4 out of 5 of them fucking deserved it. They were cunts. The only person I can think in this entire film who doesn't deserve to die is one, the cat, but that's not a person, and Polly. Because, yeah, she was really upset that Polly was seeing other women, but one conversation between those two would have led to a relationship that was dangerous to the public and level of freaks being matched. Because Polly did not give a fuck that May was weird. Polly matched her fucking freak. They were like this, and I think it was fucking beautiful. Let's go, lesbians. Like, it was gorgeous, and I loved it. Polly was the only one that didn't deserve to die. Just a really good movie. And what I would call the Femcel film. So yeah, watch it. The second movie I want to talk about is Carrie. I've personally dubbed this one a Femcel movie. I've not seen anyone else call it a Femcel movie, but I would consider it one. Because it's about an isolated girl who acts strangely, who has no relationships when she desperately wants one. And her taking revenge on people that have hurt her. So, as you probably well know, it's about a girl called Carrie. She is raised by a fanatically religious mother who hates women and female sexuality and believes women are vessels of sin. She locks Carrie in a prayer closet when she does things that she views as sinful, which could literally be anything, by the way. This woman is fanatically fucking religious. With this whole relationship with her mother leads her to being very sexually repressed and stunted mentally. She's about 17, but she acts more like a 10-year-old. She's very mentally stunted. Her mother believes menstruation is a sign of sin in women, and if you are a pure, virtuous woman, you will not get your menstrual cycle. So she doesn't teach Carrie about it, and while she's showering after a PE class, she gets her period and thinks she's fucking dying. So she's freaking the fuck out, thinking she's bleeding out, running around naked and crying. The girls make fun of her and throw like menstrual products at her while she's curled up in the shower naked and crying. I felt so fucking bad for her. Like, why? You've all been there. You've all had your first period and freaked the fuck out. I knew what a period was, and I still freaked out a little bit when I got mine, because it's like you're bleeding out of an orifice you've never bled out of before. Their gym teacher comes in and scolds Carrie. No, scolds the girls that are bullying her. But she seems to do it more out of pity than because she actually likes her. The gym teacher somewhat tries to help her, and is her only truly positive relationship throughout the film. Throughout the film, Carrie's developing telepathic powers. In moments of high emotion, she'll break things. Like, she was stood in the principal's office and he kept getting her name wrong, and she breaks an ashtray. I think it's an ashtray. Something like that. She breaks something on his desk. I think she'd had like an argument with her mom. She goes to her room and smashes a mirror. All with her mind. She doesn't mean to do it, it just happens. One of the girls, called Sue, feels bad about what she did to Carrie, so she gets her boyfriend to ask her to prom. Carrie's at first being like, nah, my mum will fucking kill me, no. But he keeps pestering her, so she accepts. One of the other girls, called Chris, hatches a plan to get revenge on Carrie because she's been banned from the prom because she refused to do the detention she was issued for bullying her. On the night of the prom, Carrie's mum tries to guilt her by saying Tommy's not coming. Tommy's the boyfriend of Sue, who's asked Carrie to the prom. Saying he's not coming and they're all going to laugh at her. But Carrie's had enough of her fucking bullshit, so telepathically pins her to the bed while she leaves. Freaking her mum out, by the way. Carrie goes to the prom with Tommy and they get along and they have a grand old time. It actually seems like he really does like her. And he helps her get a bit more comfortable and come out of her shell a little bit. And they have a grand old time. They kiss and they dance and all that. They're crowned prom king and prom queen, but it's actually orchestrated by Chris and her boyfriend. They go up on stage and she has her perfect moment with her crown and her flowers and all that. And then they dump pig's blood on her. And everyone starts laughing at her, but it's not clear whether Carrie's hallucinating this or not, because it's edited in a very whooshy fashion. Like, you don't know whether it's actually happening and whether they're all actually laughing at her. Before this, Sue found out that she saw what was going to happen and tries to intervene but gets thrown out. Carrie loses her fucking shit, sets the place on fire, kills a couple of people and walks out looking catatonic. She flips Chris's car and kills her and her boyfriend, goes home, has a bath. It almost looks like her mum's comforting her before she tries to kill her, saying she says that she admits that Carrie's dad raped her, and that's how Carrie was born, and that she's a product of sin and she's a fucking vessel of the devil himself. So Carrie telepathically crucifies her and stabs her in the chest like the Jesus statue they've got in the prayer closet. And then she pulls her body into the prayer closet and breaks down crying while the house burns down around them. Carrie dies, unfortunately. But the whole town hates her. Sue's kind of traumatised. She's the only one in the prom that survives. Sue's kind of traumatised. So Sue's kind of traumatised. She has a dream where she goes to the plot where Carrie's house used to be to pay her respects. but Carrie's hand shoots up at the ground and grabs her, and that's the end of the film. I think this is a really good film and a femcel film. Not a lot of people call it a femcel film. While Carrie isn't isolated of her own volition or of any fault of her own, she's still isolated and she still longs for relationships. She's a strange girl who's socially outcasted and looked down upon by her peers. She's quite heavily bullied. She gets revenge on those who have wronged her, and in some quite sad way escapes the pain of her life. And personally, I love Carrie White and would defend her with my entire soul. Defending Carrie White on the internet isn't enough. I need a fucking gun. Like, get behind me, baby girl. I love that fucking girl with my entire soul. She's me and I am her. Not really. Like, my mum isn't fanatically religious, but like, you know what I mean. She didn't do anything wrong. All those fucking cunts deserve to die. I don't give a shit. My only gripe with the film is casting Sissy Spacek as Carrie, because in the book she's ugly and overweight. She is not an attractive young girl, and Sissy Spacek is really, really fucking pretty. That's why they dump pig's blood on her. They call her Pig throughout the whole book because she's overweight. They compare her to a pig. And I think it would have made the film more... I think it would have been poignant to have an unattractive woman or girl play Carrie. Because a lot of people will feel bad for Sissy Spacek's Carrie because she's pretty. Because they won't understand why Carrie's being bullied because she's a lovely looking girl. But, you know, I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say, but I can't be asked explaining what I'm trying to say, so you're just going to have to figure it out. Third one I want to talk to you about is one I've dubbed myself as a femcel film. I haven't seen anyone else call it a femcel film. Because the femcel isn't the main character. She's the villain of the film, and it's called The Loved Ones. It's about a boy called Brent who accidentally kills his own father in a car crash by swerving to avoid a boy that's walking down the middle of the road. He has a girlfriend called Holly, but another girl called Lola asks him to a school dance, and he quite politely rejects her. He has an argument with his mum about his dad's death, so he storms off and he's being emo in a cliff listening to fucking Black Veil Brides, cutting himself. He gets chloroformed and dragged away. You see Lola with her cool ass scrapbook with her boys in it and glitter and all that cute shit. And her dad brings her a cute dress and some heels, and there's some low-key incesty energy when he stares at her getting dressed. Brent wakes up tied to a chair at a table with Lola, her father, and a lobotomized woman they call Bright Eyes. The house being decorated to mimic a school dance. Lola injects Brent's vocal cords with bleach so he can't speak. She taunts Bright Eyes and Brent with chicken, making him suck the grease off her fingers and getting a bit about it, you know what I mean? Brent frees himself and tries to escape, but he's recaptured and his feet are nailed to the floor with knives. Lola shows him a cool-ass scrapbook with all the previous victims in it, and Brent recognises one of them as being the boy that he swerved to avoid, which ended in the crash that killed his dad. Lola carves her initials into his chest with hearts and other cute shit, and then throws salt at the wound. Her dad crowns them prom king and queen, and she dances with her dad, and somewhat admits to having kind of incestuous feelings towards him. They almost kiss, but Brent interrupts them. Lola's father opens a trapdoor in the floor with previous abductees alive in the cellar. Lola drills a hole into Brent's skull and prepares to lobotomize him by pouring boiling water into it. Brent manages to free himself. He pulls one of the knives from his feet and stabs Lola's father in the neck and throws him in the cellar, to which the abductees cannibalize him. Him and Lola have a tussle and he smacks her up a bit before she knocks him into the cellar and throws shit at him. He finds a flashlight and a hammer and defends himself from the captives down there. Lola then smothers Bright Eyes, who's revealed to be her mother. Brent's mother and girlfriend have been looking for him the whole time. They send a police officer around to Lola's house. He finds Brent, but Lola kills him and pushes his corpse in. She says she's going to go and stab his mum in the neck like he did to her father, and she's going to stab Holly in the heart like he did to her. Brent grabs the police officer's gun and shoots at her, but misses every single shot. Brent uses the corpses to climb out of the cellar. Lola walks down the road to go kill bitches. Holly drives past. Lola throws the scrapbook at her car, and they have a tussle. And then Holly runs up. Brent's driving down in the police car to go save him. Holly jumps in the police car, and they run over Lola, and then everyone's traumatized. I really like this film. It's low budget, but it's fucking good. It's not your traditional femcel film because she's not necessarily sympathetic. Like, you don't really feel bad for her because she's doing all this evil shit. But I like that she's evil. I like that she's a villain. Let women be evil. Femcels can be evil. Like, yeah. A femcel movie can have the femcel as the villain rather than a point of sympathy. Just let women be evil. She has a close relationship, but it's her dad, and it's low-key toxic and incestuous, so it doesn't serve as an actual relationship or human contact. It drives her further into isolation and depravity. I think it's a femcel horror movie because she's actively looking for a relationship and a way out of her own isolation. But because of her father and the way she was raised, and the fact that her mum is a lobotomized captive, that's what she thinks a relationship is, and that's what she wants, so she goes about seeking a relationship in this twisted and gross way. So yeah, femcels are allowed to be evil. Sometimes a femcel film will be with the femcel as the villain, and that's okay. The fourth film we're going to talk about is Excision. Another kind of low budget one, but I really like it. This one's different from the others in the way that Pauline, the main character, doesn't want relationships. She actively repels people. She doesn't give a shit that she's weird, and she uses the fact that she's weird to repel people and make them leave her alone. She doesn't care for people or being around them. All she cares for is her ambition of being a surgeon and her younger sister Grace. She has an absolutely awful relationship with her mother, who doesn't like her and admits to not loving her when she's complaining to her husband about Pauline. Her sister has cystic fibrosis and becomes increasingly ill, eventually needing a lung transplant. She has a complicated relationship with religion and frequently informally prays throughout the film, and does somewhat believe in God despite her value in science. She frequently has strange dreams which are part erotic and part disturbing, frequently containing corpses, surgery, and gore. It's a bit of a sub-point that she's kind of a necrophile. She never practices necrophilia throughout the film, she dreams about necrophilia. She wants to lose her virginity specifically on her period, and bluntly asks a boy at school called Adam to have sex with her. He rings her up a few days out and is like, yeah, sure. They go to a motel and have sex. She imagines him excessively bleeding as they do, and somehow he doesn't notice that she's menstruating until he eats her out, to which he freaks the fuck out because he's ungrateful, and drives her home looking disgusted and pissed. She checks her blood under a microscope in sex education class to check for STDs. She approaches Adam while he's with his girlfriend, Natalie, and alludes to their encounter, causing Natalie to break up with him. Natalie and her friend vandalise Pauline's house, to which Pauline goes to school and kicks fuck out of them, and is expelled. Pauline hears her parents talking about her sister being put on the transplant list, and Grace has a bad coughing fit in the night. And in the morning, Pauline drugs her dad's tea and ties him up before luring over a neighbour who'd been mean to her and her sister had defended her from. She drugs the girl and Grace. Pauline shaves her head and tries to transplant the healthy girl's lungs into Grace's body in the garage, but ends up killing them both. Pauline's mother comes home and finds the scene, and Pauline seems excited at first, asking her mother to have a closer look. And her mum's freaking the fuck out, obviously. Eventually, she collapses in her mum's arms and begins to cry upon realising that she's killed her sister. This film isn't the usual femcel formula because Pauline doesn't long for relationships, she doesn't care for people, but she's still isolated and she's still strange. The only point in the film where she seeks out relationships is seeking out someone to have sex with, and she doesn't actually want a relationship with them. She doesn't care for who she has sex with. She just wants to have sex. Like, the person doesn't matter. Like, the person doesn't really exist as a person in the equation in her mind. She only has one semi-good relationship, and that's with her sister. They're not incredibly close, but they have a good relationship with each other. Her sister goes as far to defend her from people that are being nasty to her. Pauline's actress is a model, which contrasts what I said earlier about femcells being portrayed as attractive, but in this film they do a really good job of making her look gross. Like, her hair's greasy as fuck, unbrushed, she's got blotchy and blemished skin, and she stands like this, and she genuinely just looks grim and like she don't wash. Like, she looks like she's got a fucking scent about her. She obviously could be beautiful since her actress is a fucking model, but she puts no effort into her appearance. She doesn't bother washing or brushing her hair or whatever. Like, she doesn't care that she looks gross. She's a nasty, gross, deplorable person who doesn't want to be redeemable, and she isn't redeemable. All she wants to be is a surgeon and to save her sister, and I really like that. I like that she's rude and nasty and gross, and she isn't a source of sympathy other than in her relationship with her mother. Because obviously no one deserves to have their mum not like them. Unless you've done something genuinely evil, you don't deserve to have your mum not like you just because you're weird. Like, her relationship with her mum's incredibly strained, and they simply just don't like each other as people. But it seems that her mother has never liked her and has always preferred her younger sister Grace, which pushes her further into depravity, but you can see that she has a small part of it that does long for a relationship with her mum, because at a certain point she asks her quite vulnerably something along the lines of, "Do you still love me?" But she pushes down her small need for human connection because the people in her life who should want to know her and love her, like her mum and dad, don't. And instead she pours her energy into surgery and her depraved fantasies. She has a near-death experience as a child, and in my opinion that's where her depravity, specifically the necrophilia, comes from. It seems in line with something called Cotard's delusion, where you think you're dead. That's why she has such a fixation on corpses in her dreams, because she never mentally recovered from the fact she nearly died and has a, like, sort of mild delusion that she's dead, and that's why she's attracted to corpses. I yapped a lot about this one, but I just really, really like it. I like films where women are rude and mean and nasty, and they aren't. They have points of sympathy, but they aren't completely redeemable. I really like that. Let women be rude, let women be mean, let women be gross. And John Waters is in it as a priest, and I think that's quite ironic. Next one I'm going to talk to you about is called Repulsion. This is the oldest film I'm going to talk about. Now, I don't fucking like this one. I really don't like it. I've watched it, unfortunately. I found it genuinely hard to watch. Not because it's disturbing or anything, it's just boring. It's just boring and it drags the fuck on. It's also directed by Roman Polanski, so I extra don't like it. Fuck that guy. It's about a manicurist called Carol with a fear and disgust of men. She lives with her sister Helen, but becomes annoyed at seeing Helen's boyfriend's things in the flat, and is disgusted and disturbed by the sounds of them having sex. A man called Colin shows interest in her, but he thinks she's playing hard to get when in fact she's just fucking afraid of him. He forcefully tries to kiss her and she runs inside and like cleans her mouth out while freaking the fuck out and being really upset about it, as anyone would. Helen goes on holiday and leaves Carol in the apartment on her own. Carol goes insane and has hallucinations of men breaking in and raping her, and the walls cracking apart. Colin turns up and breaks in, so she kills him with a candlestick, as she should. She goes back to work, but she's acting really weird and ends up cutting a client's fingers while trimming her cuticles, and pretty much going catatonic for a bit. The landlord comes into the flat to collect the rent. He thinks she's ill, but he becomes starts acting like a weirdo about it, and eventually tries to rape her, so she stabs him in the neck, as she should. Helen and her boyfriend come home and they find all the bodies, and they find Carol catatonic under the bed. It ends on a zoom in of a picture of Carol as a child staring angrily and hatefully at a male relative, implying that he abused her, which led to her hatred and fear of men. I don't like this film because it's long as fuck, boring, and it's a Polanski film, and everyone says it's Femcel, but it's not. She's not isolated. She has good relationships. She has quite a few relationships. She has a good relationship with her sister. She's friends with women at work to the point she's friends with this girl at work to the point that they check on each other when they think the other one's upset. They go looking for each other and like try to cheer each other up when they're upset. Like that. She has friends. She has relationships. She's not isolated. She just doesn't have relationships with men. She's got a disgust of men and a fear of rape. She isn't a femcel because she has no problems having relationships. She just has them only with women. She isn't isolated or strange. Yes, she acts strangely around men, but that's because she's afraid of them. She's acting weird because she's scared. Before she goes insane, we see her interacting perfectly normally with women. She's soft-spoken and a little bit of an anxious person generally, but that doesn't deter people from her. People don't find her strange or off-putting. She's just a bit timid. She's also beautiful. Like, it's a point in the film that she's really, really fucking beautiful. That's why men keep chasing after her, because she's so beautiful. Like, there's literally nothing about Carol as a character that makes her a femcel. The film isn't about isolation or longing for a relationship or hatred of the self because you're weird or strange. It's about fear. She's terrified of men because she's been abused by one, and she's petrified of it happening again, to the point that the moment she has to live alone for 2 weeks, she's imagining men breaking in and raping her. And her fear is justified because in the sequence where a man comes in, because a man tries to break into her house and he won't leave her alone, and then a man lets himself into her house and tries to rape her. Her fear is completely justified. She has to kill 2 men because they won't leave her the fuck alone and they try violating her. I find it ironic that a heavy point in the film is a woman's fear of rape and violation, and it's directed by Roman Polanski. The point of the film is that she's afraid of men and afraid of being raped, and that her fear isn't actually far-fetched. But it's directed by Roman Polanski, a pedophile rapist who is the reason a 13-year-old girl has trauma enough to be afraid of men. That is not his point or story to tell, considering he's a fucking pedophile rapist. Like, I'd love it if this film were remade by a woman. Like, someone please do Carol justice, because this film could be so fucking good, focusing on a woman's fear of men and a woman's fear of rape, and the fact that that fear isn't just paranoia, that fear isn't far-fetched, that fear is realistic, unfortunately. Someone please remake this and make it good. The final film we're going to talk about is Audition, which is quite a popular film if you're in the same horror circles that I do. It's about a widower called Oyama, whose son tells him he should get remarried, so his friend/colleague Yoshikawa suggests they use a movie to hold auditions to find him a wife. Which is fucking predatory and gross, by the way. They go through women, but he falls in love with a woman called Asame, showing immense interest in her before even meeting her. He's attracted to her essay about her ballet career being ended by injuries and how it felt like accepting death. Yoshikawa has suspicions about Asame when he can't find any of her references. All of her references lead to dead ends, including a music producer who was meant to represent her, who had been missing for 18 months. Aoyama pursues her anyway because he's a dumb fucking bitch. He's also weird, I don't like him. Asame lives in a small flat with little more than a phone and a sack that very clearly has a person in it. She sits by the phone for 4 days after the audition waiting for him to call. When he finally does call, she pretends she never expected him to. They go on several dates and eventually go away to a hotel where Aoyama intends to propose. She undresses and reveals burn scars on her leg that she got as a child, and before they have sex, she quietly demands that he pledge his love for her and only her. In the morning, Aoyama receives a call telling him Asame has left. He tries to track her down but finds nothing but dead ends. He goes to the dance studio where she was trained and finds a man with prosthetic feet who tortured Asame as a child by burning her thighs with incense sticks. The bar Asame claimed to work at has been closed for over a year after the owner was murdered. Her body found with an extra tongue, ear, and 3 extra fingers. Asame sneaks into his house while he's at work and becomes jealous when he finds a picture of his dead wife. She drugs his liquor and kills his dog. He comes home, drinks the drugged liquor and collapses. He has a series of hallucinations, including flashbacks to his dates with Asame. In Asame's flat, he finds the sack contains a man with a missing tongue, ear, and 3 fingers. It's never clear whether... Oh wait, no, never mind. There are scenes where you actually see that she does in fact have a man in her flat, in a bag. Asame feeds him the man in the bag. She feeds him her vomit in a dog bowl, and then he sees her behead the man who abused her. Again, it's unclear whether that's real. He wakes up and Asame injects him with a paralysing agent that leaves him conscious and able to feel everything, but he can't move. She begins to torture him with acupuncture needles while telling him that, like everyone else, he failed to love her and only her. And she can't tolerate his feelings for anyone else, even his own son. She cuts off one of his feet with a wire saw, and halfway through cutting off the other one, Oyama's son returns home and Asame attacks him. He suddenly appears back in the hotel room with Asame beside him, and she accepts his marriage proposal as if everything was just a nightmare. But he falls back asleep and awakens in the house to Asame and his son having a scrap. The son overpowers her, pushes her down the stairs and breaks her neck. Oyama tells his son to call the police and looks across the room at the dying Asame, who repeats what she told him on one of their dates about being excited about ever seeing him again. I really like this film because she's evil. It's another one where she's the villain. She has points of sympathy, obviously, because she was abused, but she's evil. She searches for relationships in this toxic, twisted way of wanting a partner to love her and only her. She doesn't even want them to love their family. She just wants to be the only person that they love. She's isolated and lonely with no real human connection, and she's been driven insane by abuse and isolation she's faced. You can somewhat sympathise with her despite her depravity, and I like that. She's evil, but you can see how she became that way. And although it doesn't justify her actions, you do sympathise with her a little bit. She's given a sympathetic backstory while also being allowed to be evil and depraved. They don't negate each other. She's also just fucking strange. Like, she acts in a really weird way. Like, you see everyone else that interacts with her finds her weird. They find her, like, they can't identify what it is about her that creeps them out. She just gives them the fucking heebie-jeebies. And I just like that she's allowed to be evil while also being sympathetic. I wanted to talk about femcel horror in a video also discussing misogyny and horror because to me, femcel horror is one of the only subgenres that's free of overt misogyny. Obviously, nothing in horror will ever be completely free of misogyny because it's just a misogynistic genre generally, even if it's not overt, especially if it's made by men. But for the most part, you miss out on the overt sexualization and fetishization of women in femcel horror. They allow women to be gross and strange and deplorable and evil. They might make the woman sympathetic, but they don't go so far as to negate the fact that she's strange and change her into something normal. There'll obviously be bad femcel movies like Repulsion, and then there'll be fucking amazing femcel movies like May. As there is in every other genre, there's good ones and bad ones. My only wish for femcel movies is that more of them were made by women. I think we could really get into the psyche of female loneliness and isolation if it were made solely by women, especially women who can see themselves in this genre and its characters of creepy, strange women. I just really like the genre. I like that there is a genre where women can be evil and strange and weird and off-putting and gross, and they aren't changed. In none of these films are the women changed for the better. They're not made to act normal or give up their strange ways. My favourite's May because she gets a happy ending and she doesn't have to change herself for that happy ending. She gets weirder, if anything, and I really fucking like that. I like that they can have a happy life while being strange and weird. Let women be strange and fucking weird. Anyway, I don't have very much else to say, so I'll leave you with the question of what are your feelings on misogyny and horror? Do you like femcel horror? And do you believe it's an escape from the overt misogyny of the general horror genre? I'd like to see other people's opinions on this, so just, I don't know, comment something. If you're a woman, if you're a man, I don't care. That's all I have for today. So, ladies, stay weird, stay strange, and creep out as many men as you can. Love you!